Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. It's always such an inspiration to see each of you and be able to speak with you. We do this because we want to offer something to the community, but as we said to each other the other day, I think we get back as much or more from all of you. So thanks for coming together. Yeah, yeah. So next, or this coming weekend, on Saturday, I'll do the keynote address for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists conference that was supposed to be held in Orlando. And of course, that's been canceled, and not really canceled, it's been moved online. And I thought it was interesting that the topic for the entire conference is change. And aren't we in a time of change? So they asked me to speak about change, and personally, I'm not a big fan of change. I'm more a creature of habit. You all know I travel quite a bit, and when I travel, if I'm in a hotel or something, then I like to have that same chair at that same table where I have my meals, and if I have to go to a different one, I feel a little bit off balance. So change is not really my best friend. Although I had to think about the work that we do, we're really, as therapists, as hypnotherapists, we're really agents of change. We're helping people transform and make change in their life. So thinking about change and my sort of funny dance with it, I realized there's really two kinds of change. There's change that we're all experiencing, change that happens to you, right? And then there's change that we initiate ourselves. I think it's challenging to make changes ourselves, but I find it much easier to choose to change certain things as opposed to having it enforced or occur around me or to me. And then I think we all know that in this great time of change, there are many opportunities and possibilities for us to transform ourselves, even the way in which we work. Look at us all here. You know, in the past, we would have gotten on a plane or not. We have 14 countries in this one meeting, and here we all sitting in the comfort of our own home or comfort of someone else's home that isn't ours, but comfortable to be here. I was thinking, gee, you know, the sessions that we deliver are really long sessions, life between life sessions and past life regression sessions, and thought, how are we going to make that transition to working online? In the past, I said we shouldn't, or it was impossible. But I finally got to a place where it's really the only way to deliver these sessions to anyone is online now. And if you don't make that transition, you won't reach people. And as soon as I started to make that change, I realized, oh, well, in these times, as much as those deep kind of sessions are important, maybe it's not the kind of session people need or are looking for. We have many more requests for more clinical sessions, fear, anxiety, stress. We were talking as we began, people who in the past have had depression, with all the stress, all the anxiety, all the fears, all the worries. Those old traumas, those old depressions, anxieties, panic attacks, those kinds of things are really on the rise. And so it isn't just changing how we deliver what we do, but I think it's also changing what we do for people right now in this time of need. So that really brought us to the topic of resiliency. It takes a certain amount of resiliency to change, to weather change, to survive change, to make the necessary changes. And I think we all have different responses to it. And we all have different resources within ourselves to deal with change and resiliency. Sophia is going to share some ideas she has about that and some stories in a meditation in a little bit. But I had to think back when I was in my adventurous 20s, I moved to Japan for 2 years to study. I studied Buddhism and Shintoism and this emerging religious practice called Jo-Rei, which was for healing. And along the way, different teachers shared their wisdom with me, spiritual teachings. And there are two of these stories that I feel really apply to now, to my own personal resilience. And the first one was called the forging of the sword. Of course, in Japan, they were famous for their steel for swords. And the story of the forging of the sword is you take this raw steel and you put it in very, very hot coals until the steel heats and turns red. And then you take it out and you smash it many times with a hammer, which feels a bit like what we're going through now in some ways. And then you plunge it into cold water and it steams and it cools down. And you do that over and over and over again. Put it in the hot coals, hammer it, put it in the water. And in the end, this is what gives that steel, that sword, the resilience, the strength, and the flexibility, and the sharpness to do what it's meant to do. And so in these days, this kind of resiliency of the sword is something I think we all need. There are times where we need to find that core strength that isn't rigid, but is flexible. And so as we get pounded and cast into the fire and into the water, we become stronger and more resilient. So I've been keeping that in mind, and I'll include it in the meditation we'll do in a little bit. And the other story that has really helped me in this time is that when change is demanded of me, often my first response is rigidity. Right? I become strong, I become rigid and inflexible. And the more I resist and become inflexible, I think the more problematic it becomes. I can't be resilient. I can't meet the demand of the change. I'm really stuck. And so the other meaningful story that came to mind regarding this kind of rigidity and flexibility was the story of bamboo. Bamboo has something in it that's called fushi. The fushi is the joint that's in the bamboo. And so bamboo is very strong, but it's also very, very flexible. So you have this rigid joint in the bamboo that gives it strength, and then there's this period of growth, and then another fushi, another joint in the bamboo. And the truth is, when bamboo is a little baby, when it's on the ground just starting, all those joints are in there. So maybe some of this has been pre-planned, but the bamboo grows, the fushi develops, the next one grows, and it allows it to survive even hurricanes, even strong winds. And so I found over the last days, sometimes I need that sword after I've been hammered a bit, and sometimes I need that bamboo, the flexibility of this bamboo with the fushi. So should we do it now, or do you want to talk a bit?
I would like to open this up to a conversation of sharing in terms of what kind of coping strategies or what kind of resources you have. I have put a list together about emotional resilience, and I could share some of it, but I think we all have our own ways of dealing with what is going on. And we both said it's really nice to open it up like we did the last times, and get some information from you and have that shared by the group. So if anybody feels at the moment you would like to share something, please do so. Otherwise, I start to give a few points of thoughts which I have put together. So we can be flexible with that.
Last night, Michael wrote me and said he had something to share about it.
Okay.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Nice to meet you too, Sophia.
Hi.
Whoever wants to start, I'm fine. I can wait. It's all fine, all in flow. What I'm talking about and what I would love to share with you is that I found a very simple exercise how to activate actually the body's self-regulation of the position of our spine. And because Paul, you were talking before in this pretty on-spot detailed wording, the resiliency of this word, like a core strength. The core strength actually starts physically and from our physical existence, from the position of the spine. If the spine is balanced and according to the laws of nature, upright and balanced and not stiff, flexible, as you said. Because medically, as we all know, for example, inside the core, there are our nervous systems.
Yeah.
And I just want to use what we have as a gift inside our physical body. And of course, as well inside the soul we are, inside the knowledge, the wisdom to be mature as the spirit we are. And to understand, as all are talking about, our physical body is our home. So why not, just to listen with our physical ears, the autonomous breath our body is doing. And I found out that our conscious listening, not connection, it happens automatically. It would be a too big effort. Just to listen when we are laying down, for example, or even sitting, just to open our lower chin a bit, let it fall down with its original weight, and just listen 10, 20 seconds. We can all do that right now if you want, or we can do it as well another time, or I could lead you just 5 minutes in the next room you probably would set up. You can even do it in nature, wherever you would like to relax. We all know that our body is breathing autonomously. We don't need a machine to breathe. The body is doing it as the body is pumping our blood in this contraction and extension. So if we listen to that, the body is starting and can start already on various levels until its maximum to self-regulate, more efficient, whatever he wants to self-regulate. What means to bring more in balance. And exactly in this period of time where around us and maybe inside us as well, all traumatic events are getting reactivated, are coming up partially in the form of diseases, emotions, reactions, desperations, anger, fear. We all know the list. Of course, it's not like an injection, and I don't want to say, and I cannot promise anything. It would be not serious, because every human who is here around, actually every being who became, has his own time, his own path, with his own dynamics and intensity. And by just, being aware without a stuck self-control, is my mouth still a bit open while I'm listening, or unconsciously, zack, closed again?
So Michael, can I ask you if you could take half a minute or a minute to do that with us, and then I'll lead it into the guided meditation, and then we'll come back for people's feedback.
Perfect. I need about 2-3 minutes, and then you just continue.
Okay.
So take all a comfortable position, not stiff, just comfortable, whatever is comfortable for you. And let the lower chin fall down. Remember, it has a weight. It's about 1 to 1.5 kilos. And gravity wants to pull it down towards the center, of our planet Earth. And feel, when the jam is getting open, how much already a bit the tension inside the mandibula will get less. And if you cannot hear the autonomous breath your body is doing, then just feel the inhale and exhale, the air passing your lips. Just stay there. You don't need to concentrate. You listen to this in and out as a music or as the rhythm of the sea. And just stay a couple of seconds there and be curious like a child how you will perceive and how your body will respond to Paul's guidance from now on.
And continuing in this relaxed way, you move even deeper within, feeling your chest rise and fall with every breath that you take. Relaxing, releasing, letting go. Deeper within. And then imagine as vividly as possible before you a gleaming, freshly forged sword, shiny, sharp, strong, and flexible. And hold this sword in both of your hands in front of you, vertically up and down, and feel that strong center, that strength for taking necessary action, that solid core. And bring that sword close to you, standing vertical in front of you. And imagine absorbing it into yourself. This shining, steel, and flexible core that allows you to take the action necessary when needed. Integrating into the core of your being this sword of action. And taking another deep, letting go breath. Imagine before you a tall stand of bamboo with its thin leaves and green trunks. This magical, resilient plant with tremendous life force. And you reach out and grab one stalk of bamboo with its fushi, its joints. Feel its strength and its flexibility, its ability to bend with the wind and to stand again. Strong, flexible, resilient. And take this stalk of bamboo and bring it within you as well. So you have the resilience and flexibility of the bamboo and the strength and resilience and action of the sword. Choosing which you use and when. Both abilities as resources within you, able to bend in the wind and stand strong when necessary. Resources within you. Feeling feet on the floor, becoming aware of your surroundings, integrating the sword, the bamboo, letting your eyes come open, when you're ready. Thank you, Michael, for starting us off. That chance meeting in Munich when I was stuck there for a couple of days on the way to Istanbul when our governments were arguing, and mid-air they changed the visa rules and I couldn't enter Istanbul. You befriended me there at that table at the bakery. 2 regression therapists, 2 therapists. What are the chances? Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And if someone has something that they want to share about that meditation or about your own resiliency, something you've found helpful, we invite you now to do that. You just have to unmute yourself. I think Lorianne just did. Yeah.
Thank you. So that was really, really cool. It was so, I loved it. The sword, when you asked us to bring it into ourselves, I felt that tension just leave my shoulders and move to that strength of the sword where I can draw from. So that was great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, strength is very different than resistance. Someone else want to unmute and share with us? Franklin.
What came up when you mentioned the bamboo and the fudges? It's like our vertebral column. There are the vertebrae and there are the ligaments. It's the same. That came in my mind. Yeah. So we have this bamboo in our body.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
The discs.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine if it was all solid and inflexible, what a disaster that would be. And yet it has all these joints that make it flexible. Yeah, beautiful.
Cool, yeah. Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, Donka. Yeah, we can hear you.
It occurred to me that bamboo makes very beautiful flutes.
Oh, flutes. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, this is what came up for me.
Yeah. Well, like Michael started this off with the music. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good. Anybody else who would like to share? Ali? Yeah.
Yes, when I was imagining myself as a bamboo, I realized that there is a storm. If I want to be rigid on the storm, definitely I wear up. And it doesn't work. I must be flexible.
Yeah.
And I realized that, you know, the storm is each and every life of human beings. Definitely we have bad days, and we have been created to suffer, to learn. So that type of suffering is like a strong wind to me. If I want to be, you know, rigid in front of the wind, definitely a break. So I must dance around, you know, and, you know, just figure out how I can, you know, just let the wind go, not breaking me. So not always be rigid and strong in front of the problems is the best solution. So that is the thing. So I have to do my attention to whatever I have. If anything bad happened for me, I have to be grateful for whatever I have and whatever it's good, you know, in my life. Just let it pass, not be, you know, straight, strong in front of it, you know. Have to, you know, manage myself to get rid of the situation. Thank you.
You know, the other day we were in the store buying water, not toilet paper, but water. And the woman at the checkout stand said, well, you can only have 2 bottles per family. And I got my sword out and I said, 1 family, 2 family, 4 bottles. She got the manager very quickly. And I realized I should have been the bamboo and been more flexible, not taken my sword out in that moment.
Did you get the waters? Did you get 4 waters?
2.
We got 2 and we had to go to another store to get the other 2.
20 minutes. Practicing flexibility.
There's a time for the bamboo and there's a time for the sword.
You know, it's interesting. I looked up resilience in German because I really needed to wrap myself around the word and the topic of the day. And sometimes German still resonates more within me than. And there were like 8 or 9 different names for resilience. And each and every single one of them has for me a different kind of felt deep cellular resonance. And that made me aware of how many layers we need to really find within ourselves to go to the resources which are needed within not just an outer crisis, a global crisis, where we maybe us who are kind of touchy-feely people who pick up a lot from the atmosphere and from other people's behavior. Not to talk about news, we quit watching the news, but you get enough anyway. So, but what you have on the outer and what is on the inner, I am currently noticing by supporting a lot of people around me in my surrounding, how many people experience inner crisis through whatever is going on within themselves, within their family system, people checking out within 24 hours, not of the coronavirus, but especially the elderly. Lots of people, I don't know how many people, sometimes within a day, contact me that their uncle, their aunt, their father passed away. And so it's not just the global, it's also the system, the community, and then it's you. Where is your resilience within that? Where are your layers? And I was thinking in terms of what we do, of course we need to look towards our own inner child. So the inner child, which is the one which has resilience, which has, when we go through childhood regression or when we go towards past life, which is the child which can go, towards happy memories or comfortable memories. And then, of course, the inner child, which is dealing with what we touched upon, how you learned to survive, how you learned to cope, or what was not processed, and where you get re-triggered in all the plentiful of opportunities during this time of holding still and yet being in action. And that being in such a external flow or shake and rattle, you never really know what comes next. And that takes great resilience. And I think it takes us to communicate with our inner child or our inner children even more so than we ever did, and see where our inner children can either be a resource or need to be comforted and addressed and held within this. Which also leads me to parts. So we all have different parts in us, yes? I'm recognizing within myself that I not only have my inner child, which might be the wounded one and the resilient one, but I'm also carrying my father's imprints, who was a child in World War I and an adult with all the trauma until the rest of his life in World War II. I'm carrying imprints of friends or my own illnesses or the experience with cancer or whatever it might be, which might be re-triggered within some of the conversations I have or the people who reach out. So I have to have a lot of awareness, and not only self-awareness and self-compassion, but the flexibility we just talked about and touched upon. Because one moment I might experience this, and another moment I might experience something else. But within these different parts in me, where are my own resources which I might not be aware of? And where is my resistance? Where is my anger? Where is my frustration? Which might play out in situations which are completely inappropriate. So I just listened to John Kabat-Zinn and Reverend Angel in a conversation yesterday, and it was a very, very big discussion about especially also our own anger if we don't face it within this challenging time, and our own blind spots, so to speak, in my language. So I'm looking at myself, what other imprint might I have in my parts? And I think this is very, very interesting for all of us to explore in terms of resource in our family system, in our ancestry. I encourage you all to open that up and see who came before you and who had to learn a tremendous amount of survival skills or flexibility or emotional strength or whatever it might be. My mother's family experienced the Great Trek in South Africa. So these were settlers who came from Holland, from Germany, and from France to Africa, which was not only a complete different climate and territory, it was not settled by the white people. So I'm not choosing to go towards what it meant in terms of the tribes who live there. That is another discussion. But my point is, you can make your ancestors, you can ask your ancestors for support. For me, they are a resource. These people had to travel around in little carts and in tremendous heat and 110 Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Celsius. They had to learn how to hunt. They had to build a new language. Afrikaans is a mix of Dutch, English, German, and some whatever. They had to somehow communicate. They were Dutch and French. They didn't have a language in common. They had to not only somehow survive and dry the meat, which today is a delicacy called biltong. They had to not only learn how to bake and maybe find something to bake from. So I'm talking about survival skills, but I'm also talking about emotional resilience. Imagine having children under these conditions, making new children under these conditions. So that is a resource we can tap into, I can tap into. And I would like to encourage you to all look within your lineage. Who is there or who pops out for you when you are going on a higher level? So if you would like to do that for a moment and just go there, we did the meditation before, to just center yourself and tap back into this inner space and really ground yourself, connect to Mother Earth and connect to the higher source the way you know how to do it. I don't need to lead you through that. You know how to connect. Go back to this connection and pull yourself out a little bit out of your physical you. Go a little higher, go into the third observer position, go up on your cloud above your house and look down and connect with your own core, like we just did with our spine, our sword, our bamboo, but then go higher up. Lift up your soul from your physical and tap into who came before you. Tap into that field of knowing, this field of connection from soul to soul, and ask your ancestors to show themselves who are or who is a person or who are people who want to show you they learned how to live in strength and flexibility and open-hearted and with expertise and acceptance through their times. And let someone or some people show themselves to you and give you maybe a symbol, a gift, a word, a sentence, a scene, a visual, an auditory, a kinesthetic, a feeling. And take that in. The resilient people who are in your field, who are in your genes actually, who are actually resonating, if you will so, on a cellular level. And taking and receiving, bringing it into your physical form, merging with each and every cell of your body. Coming back into this moment. And when you are ready, just be back with us in the visual circle. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah. Is there anybody who would like to share?
I can share if that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
My grandmother came and she survived World War II. And she was telling me, she says, you know, if I could survive through that, you can survive through anything. She was captured by the Nazis and she was forced to cook for them. And she said, she was saying, like, I was just going, you know, I was making the best of it. This was the flexibility I needed to survive.
Yeah.
And once, you know, once that was over, I returned home. And, you know, basically, it was just basically day by day. She says, just do, how did she phrase this? She says, day by day, you just get through it. You just get through it. And then when you were saying distilling that resiliency, so I also felt the energies of like my family members who were in Siberia during those times. And what they were all sending to me was resiliency, but it's a resiliency, but not suffering, resiliency, but not suffering. So it's like you can take the gold and leave all that other stuff behind, but just take that in. And it felt very invigorating. The cells were very happy and strong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Monica. Thank you. Yeah.
So now,
yeah, resiliency and not suffering. I think that's such a incredible, strong statement to take in. And even if we experience a moment of suffering, to go back to that resource, because there is suffering, whether we experience it ourselves or whether we experience it through someone who shares it with us, or through the global experience, or through a more spirit kind of felt sense. Like I said to Paul yesterday, I get hit all the time. I'm feeling like dum. And yesterday it struck me. It was like, there are so many people who are not prepared to go. So when you feel that, also you feel suffering, and you need to go back to resilience. And I think that's beautiful, and to learn that under that circumstance, it's tremendous what your grandmother has as a resource. Thank you, really. Sanella, yeah.
We volunteered you.
Oh, I thought she wanted to. I'm so sorry.
I did.
Can you
Well,
hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
here's Govina. I mean, she's been through.
Yeah.
warfare.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a new experience for me every time. So I just add to my tools. Yeah, I met my grandparents, and also my parents were there, and there were more ancestors. They really went through tough, like through two world wars. And also my parents 2 wars, and me through 1. And they gave me a gift. It was like a golden ring, which meant, like, gold is a very special matter, a substance that has very high vibration, and it is easily transformed. So it goes in circle. So nothing is constant, everything changes. And I guess this is what I kept from them, from all those generations back, is nothing is constant, nothing is forever.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
And everything changes, and we are perfectly fine here where we are. And especially when you look at the soul learnings and what we do with our actions and our learnings for other people who didn't go through what we did, and the way we help them just by us being what we are is really a big thing. So you are all amazing. You all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanela.
Oh, thank you, Sanela, really. Yeah.
Louisa? Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to share. So I had two visitors. So one was my grandfather from my mother's side, and he was in the Spanish Civil War. And it was, he gave me like passed me a message of resilience, which is just what we were talking about. And I remember him very fondly. He died when I was very young, but I remember him telling me stories about the war. And so that's something that really impacted his life. And I think he actually died of something related to that disease, related to the tough times that he passed through those years. And then on the other side, my grandmother from my father's side, which she also had a really tough life. She had 10 children, 2 of which died when they were shortly after they were born. And as a mother, I think losing their children must be such a horrible experience. And she had a really long life, and cared and loved her children very much. And how she managed to keep on going after having really tough experiences. I think that also gives me, she also sent me that message of, keep on going. You can manage.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful to have that as a resource? I'm really glad you connected us with those before us that have these resources, been through that experience.
And they're really part of us.
Franklin?
Through the field. Thank you.
We have to unmute you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm not very good in pictures, images, but I am. In my case, it's more about feelings and sensations.
Yeah.
And what I got from my father was his sense of humor, and this made me. It was an uplifting energy. And there's something else I want to share. In the beginning, you said, Sophia, a lot of people checked out. You mentioned the word checked out. And for us, it's time to check in.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all doing now.
Good point. Yeah. Constantly checking in. It's an ongoing, from moment to...
It's a treasure hunt.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and humor is so important. Oh my gosh, is humor important? Yeah. Thank you, Franklin. We tried to unmute you, Ali, somehow. So far.
Is that you, Franklin?
Yes. All right.
Okay. No, it works. Yeah.
Can I talk now?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Ali.
Actually, for me, it was little kinesthetic. It was not visual. I got the message from I don't know who, but it's like get the lesson from each scenario coming to you and be patient until it disappears and goes. And it has been set for you to make you wiser and kinder. That's like
wiser and kinder.
Yeah.
It is meant to you, and it will make you kinder and wiser. That's 2 words was very
And I also think in terms of resources, like you just said, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone from your family or your ancestry. I believe we all have people whom we look up to or whom we see as a resource. For me, it's, for example, at the moment, Martin Luther King is coming up for me so many times. And Nelson Mandela. They're real resources for me. And for some people, I just saw it this morning, it's their cat or their dog, you know. I mean, whatever nurtures us and whatever can bring up Ellie in Portugal, my gosh, you know. And they are such family members, and they take on so much with us. And Teresa and Bruce are nodding their heads because they have a cat and a dog, and they know how they are both resource and family member. So I just, because Ali said I didn't really connect to a family member, I wanted to mention that. And then of course, spirit, the more we can connect to what Ali just mentioned, what is mine in this? I was talking extensively to someone yesterday about the why, because the why comes up, the why. The why is so meaningless unless we tap into our own personal why of our soul experience and learning within every moment here. We are seeing this as a special moment. Yes, it is. But I suppose Eloisa's grandfather in the Spanish War thought this was a special moment, whatever special is. Sanela's grandparents said this is special. You know, this is special for us to tap into our why, and not just on a conscious level, but really on the soul level. What is my role from moment to moment? Like Franklin said, laugh from moment to moment, whatever it might be, cheer someone up from moment to moment. And in another moment, something else might be required. And that is for me resiliency. This is also resiliency, trying to speak with this tooth. And yes, introducing myself via video to totally new people who have never seen me in their lives, and I'm like, hello. So, you know, I'm building my own humorous resilience with that. And it's just lovely to share that with all of you, because this kind of community we are building through this special time is really beautiful. We didn't have this before. Now we have this. Look at this gift. It's amazing. So I had prepared a ton of more points, but we are at the end of our hour. And Donka would like to share something. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, because I was very inspired today. I like to read poems, and I was very inspired by a poem by Maya Angelou.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and I
Amazing
was thinking
woman, huh?
also.
Amazing woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a poem by her if you like to hear it. But what I was thinking is that the community which is the most hit in America now is a Black community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a mirror. And so I read many poems by her. I have one poem. If you like, I can read it.
Be a really nice way to finish the meeting, I think, wouldn't it?
For me, it's fine. If everybody else still has the time, is that okay?
Yeah.
Thumbs up?
1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It is, the title, it's very famous. The title is Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I work like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with a certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Thank you, Danke. I met her once in New York at a conference. Very blessed to have been in her presence.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I share my what did I saw? Just quickly.
Fine.
When we start, thank you. When we start the meditation, I saw a steel ball and like earth, and there is a hand between the hands, and the source is black. And when we do the meditation as our aunts, I saw the microphone, black microphone. It's for me, it's mean the earth is crying.
Oh.
She needs support, like steel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, really.
So next Friday, we will do this meeting again. You know, it's the beginning of the IACT conference, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is going to be online. We talked about skipping or not, and we don't want to compete with that conference. And we understand some of you will be attending that and won't be here, but for those of you that aren't, that want to be here with us, we'll do this again next Friday as well. Okay, so we invite you to do that.
And we find another topic.
Maybe we make a comedy party.
Yes, maybe it's time for that.
Yeah.
We try to be in the flow of what happens, so with our topics, but we are open to suggestions too.
Yeah. Michael, thank you for helping today.
Yes, thank you, Michael, and it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. It's on.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
So great to see you. Yeah, don't go.
Bye.
So nice. Lovely, huh? Geza, Tanya, Ethan, everyone, Danka.
Hi, Danka. Thanks for sharing the poem.
Yeah. Jana.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Franklin.
Franklin.
Hi to Teresa.
See you next week.
Bye, Alexandra. Bye, Michael. Bye. Bye for soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, thank you all. You're precious.